Yo, what's up, y'all? Today I wanted to talk about the times in life where things aren't just making sense, right? God may be allowing a bunch of bad things to be happening to you, or there might be a bunch of trials taking place each and every way that you turn. I made a video about this. I made a short on this, just talking about how things aren't always going to make sense sometimes in life. And it's not till the very end of the trials that God puts us through that we're able to finally look back and see what God was doing and why He allowed all those bad things to happen to us in our lives. But this is a really important topic, so I thought I'd make a video giving you guys an example from the Gospels and also just talking about it a little bit more, diving a little bit more into detail. Because this happens a lot of times in life where, things just don't make sense. There's so much going on. We feel overwhelmed and we just can't make sense out of why God is allowing all these things to take place in our lives. But ultimately, they always make sense. It may be years down the line, but they're always going to make sense. But let's get into my example that I have. So in the Gospels, the Gospel of John specifically, chapter 18 of the book of John, it talks about how Jesus and his disciples, they met in a garden. And Judas, as we all know, Judas betrayed Jesus and the disciples. Judas knew this meeting place where all of the disciples and Jesus were going to meet up. So what Judas did was Judas led a detachment of soldiers to the meeting place that he knew they were going to be. He led soldiers there. He brought some Pharisees and some chief priests there as well to capture Jesus and put him to trial. And right as the soldiers and the chief priests and Pharisees made it to the place where they were going to meet up, Peter, which if you know Peter was the disciple who carried a sword everywhere that they would go. So once these soldiers come and they're trying to take Jesus away, what Peter does is he panics, right? As any of us would have. He pulls out his sword and he starts to fight off the chief priests and the soldiers. And he actually cuts off one of the servants' ears of one of the chief priests in the process. So Peter, he's fighting off these soldiers. He's saying to get away from Jesus. He wants to try and prevent Jesus from being taken. But Jesus looks at Peter and he says, Peter, calm down, relax, just let God's plan play out. So in the moment, could you picture that? Could you picture being in Peter's shoes? You have this person who you believe to be the Messiah, the person who you have dedicated your life to. You have dedicated your life to following this person. And they're coming to arrest this person. He's looking at you and he's telling you to calm down, let things happen, and let God's plan play out. In the moment, we can all relate to that and say, you know what, this just doesn't make sense. So eventually the chief priests and the Pharisees, they take Jesus, and then this ultimately will lead to him being sacrificed on the cross. So could you imagine, let's say it all worked out. Let's say Peter was able to fight off all the chief priests and the soldiers, and he was able to stop Jesus from being taken. Then Jesus would have never been sacrificed on the cross. He would have never been able to pay the ultimate sacrifice for all of our sins to be forgiven. So even though Peter didn't see it at the time, and he wasn't just able to make sense out of everything that was taking place, ultimately down the line, everything made sense in hindsight looking back. So this is a really good example of a Bible story to remember when there are just so much going on in your life and things aren't making sense in the current moment. It's times like those where you just need to sit back and just trust that God is working and building your character through all of the things that he's allowing to take place. Although it's going to be very difficult, and a lot of times we may try to take things into our own hands, just like Peter did. Peter tried to get up and defend Jesus, but Jesus said, you know what, Peter, relax, let God's plan play out. And had Peter and his plan played out, he would have ruined and stopped the ultimate sacrifice from taking place. So sometimes we just have to take a back seat and say, you know what, God, I'm going to let you work. I'm not going to try and take the wheel myself. I'm going to let you play out your plan and build my character. Although I don't understand what's going on and I can't make sense out of it, I have to trust that down the line, you're going to be able to make sense out of it. So that's pretty much it, y'all. Just remember that, and y'all stay blessed. I'm out. Peace.